Okay, welcome everybody to this session on secure zero footprint access with host access for the cloud. We're here today, of course, to talk about the most impactful sales plays of 2021. My name is Q Magus. I'm a product marketing manager here. Hopefully you know all of us. And we're joined by Barbara Ballard, Senior Product Manager, and Scott Vitkus, Systems Engineer. So today what we're going to be talking about is really something that can benefit a lot of our customers. In the times that we're in, having a terminal emulation is not enough. Our customers are really looking for a terminal emulator that ensures that the mainframe and its data stays secure. And that's why we're talking today, is that security. So Barbara, can you kick us off and talk to us a little bit about what this sales play is about?
I sure can. And you're totally correct, Q. I mean, security and data privacy has just never been more important than they are today, right? And part of that is making sure that only the right people have access to the systems and the data that hold that sensitive data. So when you think about that, mainframes are key to that. So what our customers are looking for is more ways to be able to integrate controls that they use in the enterprise to the mainframe. And that's exactly what Host Access for the Cloud allows them to do. So one of the key factors in securing data and the application that holds that data is making sure that only the people who have a legitimate need to access an application or that data have the right to get there. And then on top of that, we need to make sure that they can only see the sensitive data that they have a legitimate need to see. And then on top of that, we need to make sure that everything is locked down, right? Because that's the only way that you can ensure that information isn't leaked or that the changes aren't made to the system, even inadvertently, making it to where you'll fail an audit. So all of these things are really important. All of this comes with the things that we provide in Host Access for the Cloud. So Host Access for the Cloud starts by a browser-based HTML5 access to that host application. So that's kind of cool anyway, right? Is because a lot of customers are used to using a thick client application that is dependent on software on the desktop or is installed on the desktop. And this has no dependencies at the desktop at all. It's rendered in a modern browser that you use for other applications, and there is no dependency on the desktop. This product, Host Access for the Cloud, can be centrally configured, delivered, and managed. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean, because that's really true of most software today. But what's really important is, onboarding a user is one thing. So getting them access to the host is one thing. But where it really comes into play is when security is concerned. When you have to make a change based on a security directive, right? Maybe that's moving from SSL to TLS. Maybe that is taking a user's rights away from accessing an application because they've left the company, or worse, because they've done something wrong. So there's lots of things that comes into being able to centrally manage an application. And then, of course, again, along with the concerns about security, Host Access for the Cloud includes all the latest encryption technologies, SSH, TLS, all of the encryption that you would expect, all the algorithm for certificates, everything that you would expect to have in an emulator today. So one of the secret sauce things about Host Access for the Cloud is its ability to integrate with your corporate IAM. I mentioned Active Directory or LDAP here, but it also could be SAML. It could be multi-factor authentication sold to you by Micro Focus, right? There's lots of IAM systems out there today, but today in our customer's environment, that only manages their corporate application. It doesn't manage the mainframe. With Host Access for the Cloud, you can use that same corporate IAM system and restrict or deny access to a mainframe application using that exact same system, right? So that's what's really the secret sauce. Okay, let's take a little bit of a technical look inside what an infrastructure deployment would look like. On the left-hand side, you see typical end user devices. Could be a laptop, could be a desktop, could be an iPad, an iPhone. All of them can access the solution via an HTML interface in a modern browser. In the center, you see the Micro Focus components to host access for the cloud. There's really two main components. One is the host access for the cloud session server. That's where the meat and potatoes are, right? That's where the processing happens. That's the session servers that delivers that HTML interface to the browser in itself. And then all of this is managed by the host access management and security server. Think about that as the administrative console. That's where all the configuration is done. That's the part that integrates into the corporate IAM. That's the part where you say, who do I want to be able to access the host? And more so, who don't I want to access the host? And what am I going to give them as far as an application, and how am I going to configure them? Okay, and then on the right-hand side, you'll see all of our normal host applications, AS400, Unix boxes, mainframes, Unisys. We even support airlines. So all the common host backends that you're used to. So this is what the secure zero footprint host access for the cloud solution looks like in our customer's environment. Now I'm going to turn it over to Scott Vickerson. He's going to show you how it would look for a customer to deploy a security change in an environment with host access for the cloud. Take it away, Scott.
All right, thank you. So now you've got HA Cloud Server installed. What now? What we're going to do is use the MSS Administrative Console and configure some sessions for host access using the password that I created when I installed it. So the first view we get in here, we see when we get into the admin console, is the manage sessions. This is where we're going to add sessions and be able to create the host access for the users. But what I want to do is add some security to my host access for my users. So I'm going to integrate this with an LDAP, or my Active Directory, that to limit what session access I can provide for the users. To do this, I go into the configure settings and authentication and authorization for the MSS. And this way I'm going to select the LDAP. And I've already configured an LDAP server here. So I'm just going to click or check that box to add it, test my connection to make sure it's still valid. And it is. I've get my success. And I'm going to hit apply. So what this means is I'm going to allow all authenticated users to HA Cloud to be able to access any sessions that I create. So let's go back to manage sessions. And what I'll do is add a session for HA Cloud. And I'm going to call this one Dallas. And go ahead and launch that. And I'm going to provide some connection information. First, selecting the host type that I want, in this case 3270, and my host name. In this case, I'm going to use my telnet port 623, and I can also see as an administrator, I can see what I can apply to the session as well. Selecting colors, key mapping, apply any macros on connection, startup, and disconnect macros that I may want to assign to these sessions, along with other other configurations that I may want to apply to these sessions. But what we generally want to do is assign what the users can change on their sessions themselves. In terminal display settings, I may not want to give them access to connection settings, but I'll let them change the colors. It may be file transfer, and maybe they can do their own macros. So if I go ahead and save this, it will connect to the session for me. And once I do that, I know I've established a connection. I see the banner. I can exit this. And what I want to do then is assign access. So I'm going to assign this session to all users, and I simply check the box and apply. If I want log on to the host access server and as me, and I'm connecting to my domain. This is the LDAP that I selected. Use my credentials, log in. I'm going to be presented with the session that I just created. So I can launch that session. I see the session connection. Connect. I can change the settings. These are the settings that the administrator gave me permission to change. I'm going to change my background to green. Change host green. And then maybe I want to change my cursor to look like a crosshair. So I see my cursor's changed. I can traverse through the system. So now as an administrator, I just got a call from the security administrator for the host, and they're changing the TLS security certificates for the for Dallas host this weekend. What I have to do is, as administrator, I can easily apply the certificate for that TLS port in on my admin console. To do that, I can come to the configure settings and the trusted certificates, and then import the certificate that the administrator provided for me. I've downloaded that to my PC. I'm going to upload that to the MSS and going to give it a friendly name, host. That'll tell the administrators that this certificate is for all the Micro Focus hosts. Can hit import. Then I can apply the certificate setting to my session. So I'm going to launch my session again and go in and edit it. So now the administrator told me they're going to be connecting, instead of 623, it's going to be port 823, and we're going to require TLS 1.2. If I save that, hopefully we connect. Yes. So now I see in the OIA area, or the status area here, there's this plus sign that tells me that we are making a secure connection now on port 823. So if I go ahead and exit this, and if I come back to the user and try to log in as me again, so apply my my domain credentials again and log in and bring up my session, I still see my settings have changed, but now I also see that I'm secured or connected using that secure 823 port. So me as a user, it didn't impact my usage at all. So you can see, as an administrator, it's easy to change the security settings without changing the user's experience for host access. Thank you, Q.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott. Great demo. I hope everyone can see the value of host access for the cloud for our customers and how it can be centrally managed and how that security is really key when it comes to what we're doing with host access for the cloud. Now, let's talk a little bit about how a customer has done that. Barbara, can you touch on this story on how host access for the cloud helped this customer?
I sure can. This is a large government agency over in Australia. And when we met them, they had just come out of a PCOM. That's a thick emulator sold by IBM. And they had just come out of an upgrade with that. It took them about 6 months to upgrade 13,000 workstations. And they were kind of in a bad mood when we were talking to them because, that's a long time to be upgrading an application. So they were a little bit frustrated. And while we were talking to them about something else, one of the salespeople said, have you ever considered a zero footprint solution? One that could allow you to integrate with your IAM rather than updating everything on the desktop? And that's what started the conversation. And frankly, with their ability to integrate with their corporate directory structure already in place and grant or deny access to mainframe applications based on that user directory, that's really what sold them. But what took them over the line was our automated sign-on for the mainframe. That allowed them to use their corporate credentials and leverage those to automatically sign them into the mainframe, getting a one-time pass ticket. So that was really what kind of took them over the edge and sold them on their product. Back to you, Q.
Perfect. Thanks, Barbara. Great to see how it works with a customer. And of course, this is something that can be replicated and done with other customers. To finish up, we do have some resources for you. I'd encourage you to go out and check these out, learn more about host access for the cloud and how it can benefit your customers. And of course, please share these resources with your customers so they can see how they can have that secure, centrally managed host access. Thanks again, everybody, and happy selling.